Have you tried training methods that just didn't work? Do you feel that your pet is not getting his or her nutritional needs met? Are illnesses and bad behavior your daily norm? You're going to want to join me on the Pet Parenting Reset, where you'll hear interesting and informative interviews and get solutions to all your pet problems. I'm your host, Jessica L. Fisher. Welcome, all you wonderful pet parents. Thank you so much for joining me again this week on the Pet Parenting Reset. As always, I am your host, Jessica L. Fisher, and today we are talking about why the sit cue is so redundant. And I really want you to rethink this. You know, it's really one of the first things we teach our dogs is to sit, and I find myself, even when I am trying to train a dog not to do something, it's really easy to say, well, we need to get them to do something else instead. And so sit is one of the main things that almost every dog knows how to do. It's a pretty easy position for a dog to get into. And the thing about it is that when we're always asking for a sit, I really started thinking about this lately because my husband and I have been working with our dogs since we moved. I've talked in the past about how dogs are very situational. And while they may understand that something to be true in one instance, in one environment, that doesn't necessarily transfer to other environments. In fact, usually it doesn't. We have to continue training in other environments and with distractions, et cetera, to really get a, all around good cue in with our dogs. So when we moved, I knew we were going to have to do a lot of retraining basically with our dog. We're in a totally new environment and there was a lot of stress around moving. Just the sheer fact that we drove for 3 days and we were in 2 different hotels for, 2 nights. We got here on the 3rd night. And that all is, it doesn't matter how much you prepare for it. And I did. I prepared a lot for it. It doesn't matter how much you prepare for it. There's stress involved in that. So all of that coupled with now we have this new environment and now we have these boxes coming into the house and, and all of these things I knew ahead of time. And, my husband and I talked about it. We know Kim's an amazing dog. She's wonderful. And we really never worried about her for much of anything. We knew there were going to be things that we needed to work on with her, that we needed to reinforce with her, and also new things that we were wanting to add in because we are in a very different environment than we were the last place we lived. So we worked on, Kim was pretty good with her recall, but we didn't have a huge backyard in our last home. And we have a decent sized backyard now. So I knew that we were going to have to do a lot of reinforcing of the recall for it. Just one example. The other thing we have really been working on with her are thresholds, specifically entering and exiting our home. And so we have a front door and we have a back door, and we have been really working on getting her to check in with us before walking over a threshold. And this has been something, the front yard, we live in a cul-de-sac, but right now there's still a lot of construction going on. So construction trucks and just trucks from, workers and things are going by a lot. So, even once it's all built out, we won't have very much traffic here, but right now we do have a little bit of traffic. So, we want to make sure she doesn't bolt out the front door. And honestly, she has been very, very good. We trained her with door, I called it door dashing. And that was a video that I put up on YouTube a few years ago when I really got okay, we're gonna train her to make sure, because she never has run out the door, but I wanted to make sure we intentionally trained with her so she knew that was what we expected. And so she's really good with she doesn't run out the door. But Also in the backyard, we have a much larger backyard now, and we have different types of animals here. We live in a very different environment, a different climate, a different, I mean, we're still in the US, obviously, but it's very different. And we knew that the backyard was going to be different. For example, in our old home, we left the back door open like all the time, many, many days out of the year. The weather was nice enough that we left the back door open, and Kim kind of walked in and out as she pleased, as long as we were in the area where the living area where the door was. If we walked away from that, if we had to leave that area, of course we would bring her in and shut the door. I was always there, or my husband was always there to see her. Like, she was never out of eyesight. If she ever walked out of eyesight, I would walk outside to be with her. That's my thing. I don't like leaving dogs alone outside. But I'm really getting off topic. But it believe me, listen, like, this is, you're going to understand why I decided to talk about this today. In the backyard, the way it is now, plus the bug situation, plus just all the different animals that could be around that were not in the last city we lived in. We do not keep the back door open, and going outside is intentional. Also, there's just so much more. We live in a neighborhood that's built out, or is being built out, but it hasn't been a neighborhood for very long. And actually, this whole area that we live in was farmland and very, very rural for a long time. So there are still animals here that would otherwise not be here, probably, if the neighborhood were older. Like, the last neighborhood we lived in was over 30 years old. So, or right around 30 years old. So, the ecosystem changes over time. That's just how it is. That's how, humans disrupt things. And that's another topic. But, so there are scorpions, and there are snakes, and there are lots of different snakes, including some that are poisonous. So we are very much cautious when we're outside with Kim. So exiting the back door is something we knew we wanted to train with her. And one of the things, also crossing over the street, that's another thing. And when my husband and I were talking about it, he said, we need to get her to sit. We need to get her to look at us, and then we can, she can cross the threshold or cross the street or whatever it may be. Basically the same thing for both. And I was like, let's give it a try. I feel like this is a lot to ask of Kim at one time, especially if we're out on a walk, because there are lots and lots of distractions. Like, we need to work up to this. And the more and more I've been working with her, I'm adjusting. And I think that's really important too, is that we need to take every situation into account. We need to take every dog into account as an individual, and not be afraid to change things. And the sit it's just redundant. And it's easy to ask a dog for a sit. In fact, most dogs are just going to give you their auto sit. That's what we call it. It's an auto sit, because we ask for it so much that anytime your dog thinks that you're going to ask for something, that's automatically sit, right? We're going to plop our butt on the ground, plop our butt down on the ground, right? And then expect that treat. So we need to kind of get out of this cycle and out of this routine. It's redundant. My dog already, she already sits at the door. Why am I asking for it? I don't need to ask for it. And you know what? If she's not in a mood to sit, okay, as long as you're checking in with me, I don't need you to sit. It's one thing that, we often think that, well, if my dog is sitting, they're not doing something else. And that is very true. Don't get me wrong. I actually will use this on occasion to start out training, if we're training not to jump, for instance, that's one thing we can do, but it's only one thing. We need to do so many other things in conjunction. We need to combine these things together so we're not always constantly asking for a sit. Before we ask our dog for a sit, it's important to think, like, is that really what we want from our dog? And I was recently reading, when I was thinking about doing this podcast, I wanted to see, like, get my thoughts on track and see what other trainers were saying as well. And one of the things that I saw was about dog reactivity, and the idea of asking your dog for a sit when they're in the presence of what their trigger, whatever that trigger may be, whether it's a dog or a person or a cat or whatever it is, whatever that trigger may be, and asking your dog for a sit in that instance. And the thought there is that, well, if my dog is sitting, they're not doing something else. They're not barking. They're not lunging. Yes, but their emotions are still there. And are we, we're not validating, we're not taking into consideration their emotions. Now, obviously, that's very different from walking out the back door, like casually walking out the back door, which is what I've been working on with Kim. She's doing amazing. Like, she picks up so quickly. And honestly, I find most dogs do pick up so quickly. As long as you are consistent in what you're asking of them and the way you're asking it and what your expectations are, and with rewarding, right? Like, that, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, your dog is going to get it, but it's important to really think about why we're asking for the sit. When we're talking about dog reactivity, it's important not to let our dog get to threshold. Why would we need to ask for a sit? We need to turn around, right? If our dog is about to reach threshold, we need to turn around. And if your dog is sitting, you're not turning around. So that's where my mind went with that. Like, we need to take our dog's emotions and the entire situation into consideration. Do I want my dog to check in with me when she is asking to cross a threshold? Absolutely. So, do I really need that sit? No, I don't really need that sit. I can ask her to wait. I think that's more appropriate. So that's what I've been doing with her. I'm asking her to wait and check in with me. So when I ask her to wait, I then ask her to look. Now, if she gives me the look without me asking, I don't need to ask for it. I can acknowledge it, and then I can release her and let her know it's okay to go over the threshold. So I've been refining this, and over time, I'm not going to need to ask for it. She's going to wait and look at me, and I'm going to be able to release her. But right now, while I'm refining this, what I'm finding is that we are just asking for a sit too often, and we're getting these auto sits from our dogs that really mean nothing. So what's the point of them? Just rethink what we're doing when we're asking our dog for something. Why are we asking for a sit? Is there something more appropriate we should be asking for instead? And I think in a lot of cases that is true. Now, would I want to ask my dog to sit before getting a meal? Maybe. Would I want to ask my dog to sit when she would otherwise want to jump? Yeah, maybe. Do I need to ask my dog to sit before checking in with me? Probably not. So, and do I need to ask my dog to sit when they're in the presence of a trigger? No, I don't think so at all. I don't think so. And in fact, I think when they're in the presence of a trigger, our primary focus should be on removing our dog from threshold. And keeping them below threshold. That is our primary focus. And I'm not seeing how sit fits into that at the moment. There may be some instances where that could be the case. For instance, if the trigger is moving away, asking for a sit could actually be beneficial because you're providing more distance between your dog and whatever their trigger is. So there are certainly every circumstance is different. So I guess the main thing that I wanted to talk about in today's podcast is just how asking for a sit is redundant, and we're asking our dogs to sit too often, and it's becoming meaningless. And we're getting these auto sits really from our dog that don't mean anything, but they may even be impeding other training. And that's what I'm feeling with Kim, or I have been feeling with Kim, which is why I'm adjusting from the sit to the wait. I don't need a sit from her. I just need her to wait. So why am I asking for a sit? So that's basically, I'm not anymore, but that's basically what got me thinking about today's podcast topic, and got me down this road of redundancy and what we're asking our dog to do with dog training. So this is, again, a shorter episode. However, next week's episode, guys, is going to be so amazing. I can't wait for you to hear it. It is going to be our Halloween special. And yes, it is a little early. It's going to be like a week and a half before Halloween, but that's because these podcasts go live on YouTube and Rumble a week later. And I wanted to make sure it was all up before Halloween. But it is going to be an interview with Mrs. Layla Morgan Wild, who is an absolutely incredible person and a black cat enthusiast. So we are going to be talking about all things black cats next week on our Halloween special episode. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. So if you are enjoying the podcast, I hope you give it a 5-star review on whichever platform you are listening on. And I also hope you are following us. If you're not following the podcast, you definitely should, and make sure you are getting notifications. If you're watching the video, I hope you give the video a thumbs up, and that you do subscribe. Thanks so much for being here again with me. I'm Jessica. This is the Pet Parenting Reset, where we talk about different methods for pet parenting success. And I would be remiss without inviting you to join the family over on Patreon. You get all new and exclusive content, plus I can't talk, plus first, I was going to say look, but you get first access to anything that goes live on other social medias. So thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I can't wait for you guys to hear the interview next week. And until then, give your pets some extra hugs and kisses and love from me. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye, guys.